it's super interesting. And I'm going to drag Brian. I see Brian's come in on the call. I'm going to make him talk a little bit about Climate Art Weekend. I think they've got some really great things lined up.
A lot of comments went back and forth too, I saw.
Yeah, there was a lot of engagement and serious questions too, which was great. I'm so glad they didn't ask them of me. I'm so glad that we had subject matter experts at the ready, which is good.
Thanks. It was really great. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, there's another one today at noon, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Hi, everyone who's joining. We're just going to give it a minute or two.
Is Lori on yet?
I don't see her.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Abby, and I'm an aide to Senator Berman, and she is going to jump on here in a moment. So just want to give you that confirmation.
Oh, thank you, Abby. Good to know.
Thing.
We're waiting a couple of minutes for people to trickle in. So
I made it. Hi, David.
You want to give your report, Stephanie, while we're waiting?
David, can you hear me?
Yes.
Lori.
Hi, Lori.
Okay. Good.
Good morning.
Right. Good morning. I made it.
Good. All right, we're live on Facebook at the moment, just so you know. So to people who are joining, we're just going to give it a minute or two. But we've got most of the people on that are going to be speaking today. So we'll give it another minute or two. And I think Jim's here. He's our host. Jim, are you here?
I'll be hosting today.
Oh, David,
yes, I'm here, but I think David has the mic.
David is at the mic. Okay, David's at the ready. So, David, I'm going to hand it over to you and mute myself until I can give a chamber update. So I'll hand it over to you and start when you're ready.
Okay, welcome everybody to the Friday Forum, Government Affairs Economic Development Friday Forum from the Chamber of Commerce at Delray Beach. And today, as our guest speaker, we are honored to have Lori Berman. I consider her a friend of mine, and our daughters went to Cornell together. Lori is a lifelong resident of Florida. She graduated magna cum laude from Tufts, received her a law degree from George Washington University, and received her LLM degree in estate planning from the University of Miami. I'm impressed, Lori.
My mom would be proud of that introduction.
Lori served in the Florida House of Representatives from 2010 to 2018. She was then elected to the Florida Senate on April the 10th, 2018, and currently serves as the Vice Chair of the Senate Health Policy Committee and as Senate Democratic Whip. Lori has fought tirelessly to expand quality and access to health care, invest in renewable energy and environmental preservation, strengthen our public education system, and secure equitable rights and opportunities for women in Florida. Lori Berman, it's all up to you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with all of you early this morning. I'm sure you've all heard the news. We're all a lot of people are waking up to it, that the president has COVID. So it's an crazy unknown time out there. And that's what I want to talk about a little bit about what's going on in the Florida legislature, what our upcoming session looks like. So we have one responsibility in the Florida legislature, and that is to have a balanced budget. And that is it. That constitutionally, that is the only thing that we need to do. And this year is going to be a really tough year to have a balanced budget. We've already had some economic projections, and the projections are coming in billions of dollars short from last year. Let me back up 1 second and start with last year. Last year, we met in January and February. The legislature in the election years has decided to meet in January and February. In non-election years, which is this coming up here, we meet in March and April. We actually left town on March 14th, and then the whole world closed down the following week. But when we were doing our budget last year, COVID was not a big factor. We were doing our budget in January and February, and we had an amazing budget. It was I've been a legislator now for 10 years. And in my 10 years, it was the absolute best budget we ever had. We put $625 million for environmental projects and concerns. We had 3% pay raises for all employees in the state of Florida. We raised the starting salary for teachers in the state of Florida to $47,000. It was overall, there were lots of projects for members, and it was an overall really positive budget that I was so happy to vote for. And then the world fell apart. And we were able to keep some of those good things in the budget. A lot of the member projects were vetoed, almost $1 billion. I think actually, yeah, almost $1 billion was vetoed of member projects and other things. But going forward, we're not going to be able to have a lot of the, the really great things that we were able to incorporate into the budget. The governor has already said that, agencies need to start looking to figure out where they can cut. I would like to see us, personally, I'd like to see us look for some other revenue sources. And no, I agree with you, we're not raising taxes. But there's a couple great things that we in the state of Florida can do. First of all, we can start requiring that our online companies actually contribute their fair share of their sales taxes. We are one of the few states that doesn't actually collect them. It is on the books that we are supposed to collect it, but we are one of the few states that don't enforce it. Making our online stores compete on a level field with our brick and mortar stores could bring in something like $600 to $800 million in income. And I think maybe this is the year that we really have a real serious discussion about doing that. The other thing that many of you may know is right now we used to have a compact with the Indian tribes, and we used to get money from their gambling revenue, and that compact expired, and we have not done, because of a lot of different issues, we've never renegotiated a new compact. And I would like to see us do that. And that would be another good source of revenue. So while there's going to be cuts for sure in the upcoming budget year, I'd like to see us try and offset that with some new revenue. So we will see, I think it just depends right now. We don't know what the recovery is going to look like. And as we get closer to session, we'll continue to do more. We have our budget people doing analysis, and we'll have a better idea then. But, buckle up. You're going to see some, I can't imagine that we're not going to see some pretty significant cuts this year all along the way. So in that regard, COVID has hurt so many of our businesses. And we need to do what we can to help our businesses. We don't want to see, all these mom and pop businesses and even larger businesses going out of business, closing their doors and not reopening them. So we really need to put a focus on that, because we've got to continue to get our economy moving. I don't know what's going to happen with tourism, which has been, a huge driver in the Florida economy. I don't know if people, we've had a big European market, whether or not that's going to, come to fruition this winter, it's hard to say. It's not looking real positive, I have to tell you. And then the other big problem we've had that you've all seen in the news for months and months on end is our unemployment system in the state has been a total and complete disaster. Even before COVID, it was set up to fail basically and not help people. And with COVID, it's really been a big problem. We're going to have to address that when we go back to Tallahassee. And we've also had one of the shortest time frames. Right now, people only get 12 weeks, which is really short. And we've also had one of the lowest amounts, $275 a week. The federal government supplemented that, and that really helped. But think about it, $275 a week, that's about $1,300 a month. A family, you can't even rent, you can barely rent a 1-bedroom apartment anywhere in South Florida, in Palm Beach County for $1,300. So we're going to have to look at those issues, because that's part of helping our economy and making sure that the economy can get the wheels back going again. You know, and we don't know what's going to happen with, you know, the quote second or third wave. Now I hear them referring to it as the third wave. And how that's going to play out as time goes on. We do know that the governor recently said everything should open up. So we'll see what the impacts of that are, if restaurants start reopening in full, if it's going to cause any problems. We don't know. No, you know, this is a great unknown, unfortunately. So we have a lot of variables. I will tell you one thing that the governor has requested that we look into, and I think it will be on the agenda, how it will play out. Also unknown is the issue of liability for businesses, especially including, interestingly, nursing homes, because you've seen COVID, and long-term care facilities. COVID has just spread like wildfire. Once it gets in these facilities, you know, it's very difficult for them to stop it. And unfortunately, I think it's something in our state, it's at least half of the deaths are pretty much related to people who came from a facility. So we're going to have to look into what we can do about, in terms of, you know, if a business did everything in a reasonable manner, we need to see about the liability effects. But, you know, we're not going to protect bad actors. If you didn't do the things you needed to do to protect your residents or for a business, your customers or your employees, then I don't think you should be protected. So there's some discussion about blanket liability. I'm not in favor of blanket liability, but I am in favor of having the discussion and figuring out where we can help people on that issue. And then you might have seen that the governor has also put forth a bill having to do with protesters. And I'm scratching my head a little bit on that one. Haven't seen any rioting, looting, burning in our state. Don't really see a reason why we're doing that. And also, we waited for so long to hear from the governor about unemployment. We still haven't heard much from him. He hasn't, until now, he didn't take a lead on COVID. He left it to the cities, but all of a sudden we're going to do these grandiose plans about protesters. So that one, I think he's talking about a special session when we go back up in November, and that's going to be pretty contentious if that issue comes up, because I really don't understand. You know, we do have First Amendment rights to protest and peacefully, and I'm not quite sure what is the motivating factor behind that, other than possibly politics, which we certainly are in an election year, and unless you're blind, your TV is like mine and you're blitzed with all these advertisements. So we've seen that. So those are pretty much, you know, the big issues. You know, when we, a couple of years ago, the presidential campaigns, or, you know, we've seen the statement was, it's the economy, stupid. Well, I would say this year, everything has to be looked at. It's COVID, stupid, you know. That's the overall framework that we're going to be going back to Tallahassee with. It's COVID. So, you know, there's, and, you know, I'd like to see us talk about racial injustice. I've been running a panel once a month with a lot of community leaders, including your Vice Mayor, Shirley Johnson. I'd like to see us have some real serious discussions about that in Tallahassee. I'm going to look into whether we should get a diversity officer here in the state. And then we still have the existential threat of climate change. And you all know it. We have king tides, which cause, you know, sunny day flooding here in Delray Beach. So, you know, we're still going to need to look at climate change. We're still going to need to look at racial injustice. But COVID's going to be the overarching theme that we have this year as the legislature meets. And the election is November 3rd. November 17th, we go to Tallahassee for the organizational session, and everyone is sworn in, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do have a special session then. We have not been in session since March, mid-March, when we finished. We, as the legislature, are the purse, and we are in charge of the money. And it's been a little disappointing that the governor hasn't called us back to talk about these issues. And there's been billions of dollars in CARES money that has been allocated, and we're not even sure where it's being allocated. And, you know, Palm Beach County as a larger county got the money directly, which was good. But statewide, some of the smaller counties depend on the state to get the money. And I feel that it's our responsibility as a legislature to see where that money is going and how it is being allocated. So I do think there's a possibility we'll start talking about those issues in November. And then I am not sure how we are going to do committee weeks. You know, we are on Zoom this morning, and I don't know if we're going to, you know, the legislature will meet on Zoom, or whether, you know, people will be allowed into our meetings. We haven't been given any of that information yet, but it will be a new, different world when we return to Tallahassee in November, and how we're going to do session with social distancing. And, you know, the fact that the president just got it, who's certainly he should be in the biggest bubble of all, and he got it. So I have my fears about going to Tallahassee, because I worry that they can't protect us. I've been pretty good about doing all my social distancing. I have not been to a restaurant in the entire time. I do plenty of takeout. I support my local restaurants. But so we'll see how it all works out when session starts. So I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has. And thank you for having me on this morning.
I have one, Lori. Maybe you can help me understand the governor's proposal, because I can't. I don't do criminal law, but it seems to me that anybody that commits a violent act, whether it's against a person or property, there's already laws on the books that are criminal. What more does he hope to add by his proposed law?
There are laws on the books, and I don't understand. You know, one of the things he talks about also is somebody who's driving a car and hits someone may not be liable. You shouldn't be driving a car if you know there's going to be a protest in that particular area. I mean, I guess it happens sometimes that you don't know, but that part of the law is also really troubling. This is a solution in search of a problem that we don't have here in the state. And, you know, the governor can make proposals, but we are the legislature. We pass the laws, and I think there will be a lot of discussion if it even gets brought up, to tell you the truth. That, you know, there's going to be a lot of pushback on a lot of the parts of the law, and we're going to have to really understand what is a new addition, like you said, because there are, you know, I don't believe, I heard Vice President Biden in the debate, and I agree with him. If you're looting and breaking the law, you should be arrested. That's not to be condoned, but peaceful protest should be allowed to go ahead in this country.
Anybody have other questions for
It's Jim Chard. I have a question for you with regard to finances. What about federal funds that come to us via the state, the county, and into the city for things like environmental, things like bicycle paths and roadways through gas taxes and so forth? Are those going to be impacted too, particularly since people have not been driving as much and therefore not using gasoline?
Yeah, it's the gas tax was already in trouble before COVID, because people such as my husband who drive electric cars haven't been, you know, don't have to pay gas taxes because they're not paying for any gas. And we've had more. So the gas tax was really struggling even before COVID. Now post-COVID, it's going to be a big problem. But, you know, the federal government's in a lot different position than the state. We are required to balance our budget. The the federal government does not have to, and they certainly have been printing a lot of money lately. So that will be a decision in Washington whether they want to print more money to support those kinds of projects. You know, people have been asking me, should I put in my budget request this year? What do you think? And I tell them to put it in because we don't know. But I tell them, you know, tamp your expectations down, keep your expectations low. So I would say the same thing with that federal gas tax money. You know, keep putting in for the things that you want, but just know that it may not happen for at least this year.
Any other questions for Senator Berman?
Hi, this is Vivian DeMille. I'm sorry I'm not able to be on video. I'm being a parent this morning. I was driving the kids around to school, and I really wanted to be on the call. Yes, Senator Berman, I have a question regarding healthcare and your stance on healthcare now. I know Florida has not been a Medicaid expansion state. I know a lot more people are unemployed, not accessing the exchange plans to the extent that we thought they were, and the exchange plans are not providing maybe the benefits or services that we thought they were. What's your stance on that going in, and what do you think? Is that an issue that's going to be addressed this year at all, considering how much is going on? And by the way, I love that you're supporting the tax on online businesses and also the compact, I think, and looking at ways that we can balance our budget this year. I think those are all great things to support. So I appreciate you talking about that today.
Thank you so much. And thank you for bringing up that issue. So in my 10 years in the legislature, my greatest disappointment in all the 10 years is the fact that we have not expanded Medicaid. There's about 800,000 people in this state minimum who can't afford coverage. Those are people who are working people, working 2 and 3 jobs. And unfortunately, we know that if they get sick, it's usually going to be pretty acute by the time they get to a hospital. And they're going to go to a hospital, they're going to get covered, and it's going to end up costing us money as taxpayers. And we're putting on the table billions of dollars that we would be getting from the federal government. So you want to talk about ways to balance the budget, Medicaid expansion would be an amazing way. Ideologically, there's been such pushback, and it's funny because we're now, I think when I started this whole push, there were 33 states that had expanded Medicaid, and I think now we're up to 38, and a lot too recently were just did it, and they were red states that did it with ballot initiatives. We tried to do a ballot initiative for 2020. They just didn't have the money to get it on this ballot. I am convinced that had it been on the ballot, it would have passed. So Medicaid expansion is a big area. And like you said, a lot of people are now, we're seeing a big problem in that people's insurance is tied into their jobs. And as more and more people become unemployed, they're becoming uninsured. And it's a real problem. I think we are going to have, healthcare has always been the largest part of our budget in Florida, even with all the federal funds that come through. We spend about 1/3 of our budget on healthcare, and then education's second, believe me, but healthcare is even higher than education. So I'd like to see us, I'd love to see Medicaid expansion. I don't think that's going to happen, but we're going to, even if we don't do Medicaid expansion, we're going to have some real serious discussions to make sure that our people have healthcare. Because the hospitals unfortunately become the company of last resort, the doctor of last resort, and our hospitals are going to suffer, and they've been suffering for a while, and we've been helping them with what they call LIP funding, the low income pool, and that's money that we do get from Washington, which is good. It's a match, so we're going to have to depend on Washington to come help us fill in some of those gaps, because we are not going to have the money in our budget either. And I do see a crisis, coming down the road. We'll see. Unemployment went down a little bit last month, so hopefully more people are getting covered through work. But I am concerned, and I really appreciate you bringing that issue up. Thank you.
Lori, this is Jim again. I have one more question. We have an election coming up in 32 days.
Really?
I guess everybody knows that. We believe that a great deal of the votes are going to be done by mail. We have had Wendy Satori speak to the same group, and she gave a very professional, upbeat presentation of how that's going to go. But I'm wondering, from your view, on a statewide basis, is Florida going to be yet again in the news in terms of voting, or do you believe that we're well situated to handle the new norm of voting?
I hope we're not in the news. I'm so tired of us being Florida. So we've been doing vote by mail in this state for a very long time. It shouldn't be a problem. I voted by mail. I used to never vote by mail. I loved going to, my plan was always to vote early, and I loved going there and walking in the booth. And so when I came home in March, we had that primary that we came home, we were let out on Saturday, and we had that primary on Tuesday. I never had gotten a vote by mail ballot. And on that Sunday, I ran to the polls for the last day of early voting. And I was so shocked and so upset when I walked out of there. There was basically no effort. COVID was known, and I was being given a pen to sign with. I was being given an iPad that everybody else was touching to sign with. And yeah, when I left, I got handed a few wipes. I didn't feel really comfortable. I actually called Wendy that night, and I said, Wendy, you got an election on Tuesday, and I just went to and Wendy said, I know, Lori, I wish we didn't have an election. She said, but we're going to do it. And they did the best they could. And so I urge everyone to have a real plan in place. So I voted by mail the other day, and you can drop your ballot off at the Supervisor of Elections office right here in Delray, 345 South Congress. It's just a little bit south of Atlantic. They have a room, you can walk in, you drop your ballot. So you don't have to depend on the mail, which I know people are a little worried about. So, I think I like my plan. If other people want to follow that plan. Now, in terms of us getting the results back, I believe vote by mail is I did it, and I think it's safe and secure, and I believe my ballot will be counted. Needless to say, I will go on the website to make sure that my ballot was received. And I urge people to do that also. But there is, I believe, a procedure in place that if there is a problem with your signature, they will contact you, which is great, so that you have the opportunity to cure. So I do think voting in Florida should be okay. I am concerned about the time. If you saw in our last, I love Wendy, and I think she's doing an amazing job, but if you saw in our August primary, a lot of other parts of the state were reporting in by like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. We still didn't have our final counts until after midnight, I don't think. And that was in the primary. So I am concerned about the time frame. I know that I believe Florida is one of the states that we're allowed to start counting early. And I hope each of the supervisors with the early votes, they're allowed to start tabulating them before election day. And I hope all the supervisors do that. We have a great group of supervisors across the state, and it's a real bipartisan group, which is great. And they all say the same thing: vote by mail is fine, and our election will be fine. But that's not. I'm going to depend on them. I'm going to count on them. That's not to say there can't be flaws that evening. And, we saw there were flaws in August. And part of the big flaws they said is that the computers didn't talk to each other, which was a pretty big flaw. They said the schools were built so that they couldn't get internet connection, which they didn't realize. So I hope that we address those issues here in Palm Beach County. I would really not want to be watching Palm Beach County on national news on election evening. So I thank you for raising that issue, but I do feel voting by mail is the way to go, is a safe way to go if you're concerned about COVID. And even if you're not, I'm sure since I went in March, a lot of changes have been instituted, which is good. So I believe it'll be safe to vote in person also, but for anyone who has any concerns, go for the vote by mail.
Okay, thank you, Lori. Any other questions?
David, Noreen, may I ask one, or how are we doing on time?
Yeah, one more question. You can have it.
So, okay, thank you. Senator
Bravo.
Berman, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Wow, I mean, there is so many pressing matters that we're being faced with in our state. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine how you tackle all the things that you're dealing with. In regards to yet another issue, climate change, I know you're very engaged. What do you see as your top priority for our state when it comes to climate change?
That's a great question. I've been asked a lot. It's funny, people are really, thank you for asking it. People are really engaged about climate change. And if you remember, under our last governor for 8 years, we weren't even allowed to say the word climate change, but this governor has done a lot for the environment, and I give him a lot of kudos for that. So I think water is still the big issue, and water policy, what we can do to keep our water clean and to help with the high tide issue. Last year we passed a really good bill, which was a true climate change bill, saying that if you're going to build in the coastal community and you're using public funds, you have to have an environmental impact study done before you build in those areas. So that was a really good start. I mean, I certainly would like to see us have some carbon emission goals and more use of alternative energy. I've been a big proponent of that for a long time. I'm a big proponent of solar. Last year I brought a bill, which we didn't get a hearing on, and I'm going to bring the bill again this year, to allow schools to put solar on their roof, and that the schools should be able to get the economic benefit of it. And, they would have net metering, and they could aggregate and sell their energy back into the grid. So I think there's a lot of things that we can be doing. We really need, the governor put in place a resiliency officer, which was really cool, really exciting. Unfortunately, she left and went to work, I think, in Washington, and has not been replaced. But we really need somebody like a resiliency officer, and somebody to give us some real guidance and leadership. I'd love to see, some more discussion from the top down about what we can do. And, hopefully we'll have that. But in a tough economic year like this, I'm not real optimistic about it. I mean, I think there'll be some bills like that one about the building, some bills maybe around the edges that we can get through. But right now we're not seeing an overall plan, which is what we need. I know you guys work together as the 3 counties and try and figure out things that can be done. So let us know if you have ideas. I'm happy to bring legislation on that area. Like you said, it's been a passion of mine, and I'm really always willing to have those discussions. Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming, Lori. We really appreciate it. Good luck with session, and keep safe.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, Stephanie, do you want to go? Or it looks like Chief Sims is on his mobile. He wants to leave. Should we let Chief Sims go first?
Absolutely.
Chief? Chief? Maybe
Can you hear me? You hear me?
Now we can hear you, yes.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Just a brief summary of what's taking place from the law enforcement perspective. We're still being inundated with auto burglaries, mainly to open vehicles. We continue to put out information via social media to inform people to keep their vehicles locked and not to keep key fobs and garage door openers in plain sight. So hopefully we can eventually reach the residents, because this is happening all too often. We're no longer enforcing individual mask. That's a mandate that came down from the governor. On August October the 14th, we are having a forum to discuss social justice. In that forum, you have the Boynton Beach Police Chief, Michael Gregory, FAU Police Chief, Sean Brummer, and myself, and the mayors of both of the two cities will be discussing social justice within not only Palm Beach County, our municipalities, but abroad. So if you want to participate in that, that would be on the 14th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Holiday season is around the corner. During that time, we will increase deployment of staff, high visibility and enforcement during that time period. Also, we hope to put out some potential crime tips that will serve the residents and the business owners in Delray Beach to help keep their properties safe over the holidays. Also, going back to the overdoses, we've been faced with the pandemic, the social unrest, hurricane season. Let's not forget about the crisis we're still dealing with when it comes to the overdoses. In September, we had 47 overdoses in September. That's the highest number in the month of September since 2015. So as you can see, this is still a crisis, not only in Delray Beach, but abroad. Out of that 47, the police department, we deployed Narcan on 17 occasions during that 47 overdoses. We had 5 deaths in the month of September. So as you can see, with everything that's going on around our country, the opiate crisis is still in the forefront, and it still is a major issue within our communities that we're continually having to deal with to the best of our ability. We're working with numerous organizations to help us in this process. South County, it's been a huge benefit to us. Ariana has been a huge asset to not only to the agency, but to our community, who goes out to every overdose call, and she meets with the individuals to assess their situation, and we try to provide as many resources as they're willing to accept. But for the most part, that kind of summarized what's taking place from the PD standpoint. Any questions?
Thank you, Chief. Thanks for coming, and good luck, and keep us safe.
Thank you.
Stephanie, you want to give your report before we go into the city? Or you want to wait?
Yeah, I'm here. I'll just do a quick chamber update. We were really happy to host the kickoff for the RISE Climate and Art Weekend last night. So we've got quite a few people on from the city that'll be able to talk about that a little more. But there's a wonderful array of things that people can do to connect with our city staff and our partners to learn more about resiliency and sustainability. So please tune in over the weekend, and we'll hear more from the city team on that. Today, at noon, there'll be a League of Women Voters Zoom meeting with the Green candidates, and that's through the Climate and Art Weekend. So you can sign up, I think via the chamber page. I think we might be hosting that one as well, or the city page. Sorry, Angel will have to clear that one up for me. October 6th is Nonprofit Council. We have a very robust Nonprofit Council. So if you're a nonprofit, please consider joining that. And then every Tuesday at 12:30, we're continuing with our Lunch and Learn series. And every Wednesday, obviously at 8:30, we have Delray Morning Live for the month of October. This will interest all of you. On October 12th, we're going to have a candidates forum via Zoom, and that'll be at 8:30. Sorry, it's from 8:30 to 10 on October 12th. And we'll hear from Senator Berman again, along with Tammy Donnelly for the Florida State Senate, District 31. We'll also hear from Daniel Madsen from Florida District 88. We'll hear from Syed Hussein and Emily Schlossberg from Florida District 91. And we'll hear from Lois Frankel for the U.S. House of Representatives District 21. So that's going to be a very interesting morning. We're going to have, it's going to be a forum, not a debate. So the candidates will Zoom in for 5 minutes and tell you about their platform, and then they'll be able to take 5 minutes of questions. So we hopefully you'll sign up for that on October 12th. Sign up via the chamber website. And then October 29th is Delray Reads Day, so everyone's excited about that coming up. That's a city initiative that we're assisting with. And on November 12th, we're planning a healthcare symposium. So more about that at our next government affairs meeting, which will be on November 6th.
Thank you, Stephanie. Well, it's a good thing we have Zoom and electronics, because for the Rise weekend, it's going to be raining all weekend. So everybody can stay home and tune in. Okay, for partner updates, we have a lot of city people on the line here. We got Brian Rusher, Molly Day, Elizabeth Asa, and Kent Edwards. So I don't know who wants to go first. I guess Kenton, you're the highest ranking city official, I think. So you're a director.
Sure, I appreciate that. But if I can, I'd like Molly to start off and go through the schedule. And then if I can follow up with some items on Rise, that would be good. Molly, can you do that?
Sure. Okay,
All
so
right, thanks.
I do want to say thank you, Stephanie. That was a great information that she shared about Rise already, and she was able to join us for that kickoff last night. So I was really appreciative of that.
Molly, could you give Kent's position and your position for people that don't know? And could you
sure.
speak closer to the microphone?
Sure. Am I loud enough?
Get closer.
Oh, okay. Let me.
A little bit closer.
How about that?
Perfect.
Okay, great. So hi everyone, my name is Molly Daly. I'm the Assistant Sustainability Planner for the City of Delray Beach. So I work in the Office of Sustainability for Kent Edwards, who is the Sustainability Officer. So I've been working at the city now for about a year and a half. So this is the second time I've been able to participate in Rise. So Rise, a Climate and Art Weekend, evolved from what used to be the King Tide event. So, we not only started talking about king tides and sea level rise, since we experienced flooding in our city, but to expand that to the larger issues at hand here, and to talk to the community about what the city is doing. So last night we did have the kickoff event with the chamber, and I'm really appreciative that we were able to have that. It was great. And the chamber is helping us out for 2 more events today. So like Stephanie mentioned, the panelists that will have Kent Edwards on there and sustainability counterparts in Boca and Boynton are going to be on that panel discussion. It's hosted by the League of Women Voters, and that is at 12 p.m. And then at 2 p.m., the library has a presentation, which is Saving Florida, a women's fight for the environment in the 20th century. And that one's going to be really compelling. That one's hosted by the library. After that, we have another panel discussion, which the chamber is helping us with this one too, at 4 p.m. And it's climate change vulnerability in Southeast Florida. So one of the speakers on there, Aaron Dede, and Liz Perez with Water Collective Resources, they are helping the city of Delray Beach out with the climate change vulnerability assessment. So they're going to go over a little bit of that and some of their other experience in this area. But we're also going to have Rhonda Haig on there, and she's the Chief Resilience Officer for Monroe County. So she's going to talk about what she's experiencing in the Keys, so ground zero for sea level rise in Florida. Then we end tonight with a bang. So First Friday Art Walk. They're going to have that virtual and in person. So a lot of art galleries, artists, and businesses are participating with that climate change theme. And so it's going to be a really great mix. And it's going from 6 to 9. Then tomorrow we have another full day. So starting at 9 a.m., there is a virtual workshop with an artist, and that one is through the Old School Square Creative Arts School. Then at both 11 a.m. and 4 p.m., Sandaway Discovery Center is participating with a live shark feeding and to talk about how climate change is impacting shark migrations. Then Sandaway is participating again at 12 p.m. with an artist they're familiar with who's inspired by nature and is going to talk about how climate change and sea level rise, those types of concerns influence her work. And the library is doing another talk tomorrow on Saturday for kids. And then we're going to end the night with an artist talk at 5 p.m. On Sunday, our schedule is a little lighter. At 12:30, we have a link on our website to a pre-recorded webinar, which I think a lot of people here will find really interesting. It's about COVID and climate change, lessons and opportunities. And this was presented by Dr. John Sturman, who works with MIT Sloan School. And it was recorded a few months ago, but the information on there is very intriguing. And then at 3 p.m., we have Planning the Future, Activism, Art and Urban Forestry. So I know a lot of us here are really passionate about trees. Community greening is going to be on that. And then 4:30 p.m., Malagra Center has recorded shared words from some of the teens there at Malagra Center. That's being posted at 4:30 p.m. And then at 5 p.m., we're going to hear from a few of our commissioners. And those are going to be the closing statements for the night. So I know, I'm sorry I went on a little long, but I know that a lot of the topics here today has already been about how our business is doing, how some of our budgets have been cut. So that's really been the interesting about this is a lot of businesses have been able to come together, and with moving things online, we've been able to cut costs and reach a wider audience. So I'm looking forward to the next couple days of this event and to even next year's, and hopefully we can expand it further. But I'll hand it over to Ken.
Okay, thanks a lot, Molly. And we really do appreciate the Chamber's assistance and the hosting. I think that along with the help, it really makes the event look like a strong partnership that it will need to be. And what I really would like people to walk away from the event with is a clear understanding of climate change is real. It's happening now. We need to prepare. The way we prepare is through sustainable actions that reduce greenhouse gases. And since we're not going to be able to completely avoid the impacts of climate change, we need to have resilience actions. And my goal, big picture, is to have half of the residents in Delray Beach able to repeat that kind of soundbite there, really understand that we need to be a center of information and preparation. And we join with our other partners. That's why it was important to have the regional and city contacts there also. And of course, the local chamber. So I haven't said that to a lot of people other than Molly, the 50% goal as far as people in Delray, but I really mean that. And moving on to next week, we are going to be getting back together with the chamber, and we really appreciate David and Christina Morrison have had some conversations and emails. We want to start next week with planning our outreach for the Green Business Certification Program. Really excited to get that going. And so be thinking of how we can design that and how we'll advertise it and bring partners in to that. And the last item is, since Senator Berman asked about legislative items, I did forward the email with the 500.90 Florida statute revision change. It is a very small housekeeping item. I have gotten some other people that told me they contacted their legislative representatives, and so that might be something, if you agree, to forward on to her. It is a pretty small change that could have a significant impact. So thank you very much. And thanks for watching Rise.
Okay, thank you. Brian and Elizabeth, same department.
Hey, yes, this is Brian here. I am sharing a flyer for our curbside management and parking study for our downtown area. I've talked to this group before about this study, and we are at 630 participants taking our survey, which is really good. I'll chalk it up to COVID and people at home willing to put their energy into an online survey. And I appreciate everybody who has shared it. I'm going to ask that we please continue sharing the survey because we have hit a little bit of a plateau with the responses. So if you could maybe post this flyer, make sure that your downtown businesses and employees know about it. We would really love to hear more about how employees are parking and how far they're willing to walk and how much they're willing to pay in particular. And we would love to see that response number go up a little bit more before we close the survey on October 14th. I also shared a link in the chat function for you all. brings you directly to the project's website. The landing page is the survey itself, but there's other tabs that you can check out on the web page for more information. That's all I have. I'll be brief.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Elizabeth.
Hi, good morning. I don't have any new submissions to share with you today. I have a couple that are going to be reviewed later on today, but so I'll bring that to you next month. You guys asked about the CBD text amendments last month, and I think that you're all aware that they've been put on hold. So that's all I really have. I also.
Do you anticipate them coming back, or are they completely withdrawing
them? We're waiting on a revision for the Railroad Corridor one. The other one is going to be put on hold in the event that we don't get, if we don't get a revision from the Railroad Corridor one, then we'll start processing the other one. So it's really in the applicant's hand right now. I can't say whether or not it's going to go away or if it's going to continue.
Okay, thank you. Is Gemma on at all? No, okay. Renee from the CRA, thank you.
Hi, yes, I'm here. Good morning, everybody. Nice to hear everyone this morning. So just a couple things from CRA, you know, as a follow-up to Senator Berman, you know, the small businesses are a big focus. And, you know, I just want to let everyone know that at the series board meeting Tuesday, we discussed some changes to our funding assistance programs, just for that reason, to help our small businesses. You know, we primarily do, you know, infrastructure and, you know, building type things. So we have our site assistance grant program that helps with interior renovations. And we are looking to expand that program in the downtown area to retail businesses. Also, we have our paint up and signage. So if any business wants to do like exterior painting and signs, we do have funds available. There were some restrictions on that too, but we are looking to open that up to all businesses. And just so you know, that opening up kind of came from, you know, the impact of the construction in Pineapple Grove, that maybe some businesses need a fresh coat of paint or a new sign. So that's something that we took into consideration when considering the changes. So I'll share the link to the presentation that goes over some of the proposed changes. The board was really supportive of pretty much everything. So we would bring back the program guidelines to our October meeting with the rollout in November. But I just wanted to share that with everybody, just so you know, people can start looking, and please share with the business owners that you know, if they want to do some improvements, you know, there are some funds that may be available. Also, the green market's coming back, so that also is in the presentation that I'll share from the board meeting. So October 31st will be the, we're planning for the rollout of the green market for the winter. And we're excited about that. Another way to support small businesses. Something new this year, we're proposing to have rotating booths, maybe 5 or 6 that are, you know, not the businesses that are with us through the whole year, but maybe there's a startup or someone who isn't doing as well and can't be with us every single week. We would have, we're trying to propose a schedule to rotate booths. Not sure how it'll look, but if you wanted to try and do something for those smaller businesses just trying to, you know, get by and still want to participate in the market or start up. And lastly, you know, we are also participating in Rise Weekend. We, I'll share with you all the link to that. We do have some art pieces that were installed. We partnered with, obviously, Sustainability Office and the CRA and a private attorney, Erin Deddy Law. So she also contributed. So there's about 10, I think, on CRA property. So we kind of did like an inside out type of thing. So those art pieces, unfortunately, will get rained on all weekend, but we do have a map gallery on our website. So I will share that. And we also did have a few talks that are throughout. So you'll see Grace, our lovely Grace, did an interview tomorrow with a few artists at 5 p.m. So definitely supporting the cause, and you know, happy to be here this morning. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, Renee. Any questions for Renee or the city? Okay, moving on to Peter Arts, who's sitting in for DDA today for Laura. Laura's all right, I hope.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for allowing us to sit in on your meeting. And also want to thank Senator Berman for her participation this morning. I know she has a busy schedule, but a couple of items I'd like to share is one that our DDA does have a supply of masks. If any downtown business would like us to bring several of them by for their customers who are not wearing masks, we would be happy to do that. Also, we are working on a storefront initiative to beautify the windows of some of our businesses who are in transition from closing to new tenants. We're working on that. Tonight is our first Friday art walk. Our virtual art walk continues, and if you'd like to jump in on that, we would appreciate it very much. Just look at our DDA website for information on that. Upcoming October 13th is our next board meeting. We will be having another virtual board meeting. If anybody would like to participate, if you haven't signed up for our business to consumer or business to business weekly emails, we'd be happy to add you to that. Just contact our office. We'd be happy to do that. The Visitor Center has reopened with a Thursday to Saturday schedule. We are going to expand that schedule to the entire week, and we're looking for volunteers. If anybody would like to volunteer for a few hours at our Visitor Center at the intersection of Atlantic Avenue and A1A, we'd be happy to have you join our team. And in addition to that, BJ Sklar, who is in charge of our Visitor Center, is continuing the virtual concierge program, where we are in contact with people who are interested in visiting Delray or questions on downtown Delray. She is working with them on a one-to-one basis in Zoom meetings. But thank you again very much, and I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Is Laura okay?
Laura is just fine. Laura is taking some deep breaths, and she is very okay. Thank you for asking.
Okay.
She's just taking a day off. God bless her.
Yeah.
That's good news, considering what's going on around. Just concerned.
And thank Laura for allowing me to sit in on her behalf. So thank you.
Thank you for your service, Peter.
Thank you.
Is anybody from the fire rescue here? No? Okay.
They couldn't make it today.
Excuse me?
They couldn't make it today.
Okay. I see Sergio Piedra is on or was on. Do you want to speak?
No, he had to drop off, but he left a note that the good news is tourism is showing signs of improvement in Palm Beach County, but there's still a long way to go, as we probably know that. So we're going to have a tourism roundtable at I think October 22nd. We're planning that. We'll let you know more on that, and we'll have Sergio and some other people from Discover the Palm Beaches talk about that. So more to come. That'll be later in the month.
Okay, did we miss anybody? Kay, do you want to give a report on the education breakfast? Kay? No? Okay. I thought she was on. She says she's on. Jim, you want to fill in for her?
Certainly. For a very experimental process of trying to do an education breakfast virtually, I think we had a great success in our first time out. Generally, I believe we have around 200, maybe a few more in when we have an education breakfast in the Dirt World. We had about 150 online. And we had, I believe, a very good presentation. We were hosted by Paige Turner, which is an organization here in Delray that works with educating children and goes all around the world. So they dedicated their talents to us. And we had two very effective speakers, I believe, talking about the challenges that our local schools and school district are up against. We also use that as a fundraiser for our Delray Chamber Education Fund, and we were quite successful in that effort too. I would like to thank all of the sponsors and all of the attendees for making it worthwhile to do this, and hopefully this provides us some of an endowment for the Chamber Education Fund so that we can launch some exciting programs in 2021.
Okay, thank you, Jim. I think that's it. It's exactly 9 o'clock. We finished right on the dot. Anybody have?
David, if I may, I think we have tentatively scheduled Karen Granger for next month. Is that correct?
Yay! Yay!
Karen, as
You were talking to her, so you have to.
Sorry?
I said you have to confirm you were talking to her.
Okay. Karen, as all of you know, was formerly the CEO of the Chamber, a well-beloved figure and still dedicated to doing good work in the not-for-profit world. She runs an organization called 4Kids. And I asked her to speak because of all of the population suffering under COVID, the children that she cares for perhaps are those that are most endangered. She has foster care kids. She has kids that have serious issues of all kinds. She has kids that have been involved with sexual trafficking. And I just felt that this group would like to hear about something that is kind of not on the necessarily on the radar scope for a lot of us, and would be very interested to learn a little bit more. And of course, Karen, in her very bubbly way, I think will make a very fine presentation. And I hope all of you that are on this call can join us for the first Friday in November, and many more as well. So thank you for letting me announce that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for attending. And we'll see you next month on November 1st? 2nd? 6th. Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. Everybody have a good weekend, and
Bye, everyone.
please stay safe.
Tune in to Rise.
Tune in to Rise. It's rainy, so enjoy your screens.
Bye, everyone.